Good afternoon again. If we're ready to start, could I take item 1, which is election of the chair of the council? Could I take nominations, please?
Can I move Christine Smith, please?
Do we have a seconder?
Second that, Chair.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Show of hands. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. I'll move to item 2, which says address to members from myself. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to the council for electing me as chair. I presumed after Jerry Morley was elected on the 20th of May that he was to serve for the year as chair, and I was made the vice chair, that there would be little to do for 12 months. But sadly, and most unfortunately, Jerry was taken ill on the 3rd of June and unexpectedly died on the 13th of July. This was an unprecedented situation, and I stepped up into the role of acting chairperson from the 3rd of June. I'm very honoured and pleased to have taken on the role of chair, and will carry out my duties to the best of my abilities and hope to be an excellent ambassador in the community. I've been on the council for a long time now, it seems, since roughly 1987, and I've been vice chair before under Councillor Jackie Ridgway. I did chair some of the meetings on a few occasions when Jackie had broken her leg and she was absent. And the previous chair, Rosie Smith, also broke her leg, so I'm hoping that this is not an occurrence that will come back and bite me. Regarding choosing a charity, I feel it is only right that for the remaining 7 months I will carry on with Jerry's wishes and donate any monies received raised to the community groups and small local groups in North East Derbyshire. Since early June, I have been covering several community engagements. On the 6th of June, I attended this council's service for the commemoration of D-Day here at Mill Lane, and it was quite a moving service really, outside by the flagpole, with several councillors attending and quite a lot of staff. On the 7th of July, I attended the annual memorial pilgrimage to Crouch Stand, to one of the soldiers of the Sherwood Foresters, now the Mercian Regiment, and that was a marvellous occasion, including the Derby Ram from the regiment. He did behave. On the 13th of July, I attended Walton and Holy Moorside Primary School Summer Fair, along with some other dignitaries, and that included an exciting fly past by the famous Red Arrows. On the 9th of August, I did attend Jerry Morley's funeral in Claycross, along with many staff and directors of the council, and hopefully we did him proud. On the 5th of August, I attended Eckington Mining Memorial to present volunteers with a cheque towards a new metal sculpture of a pit pony. It was good to engage with locals who related the history of the memorial and of the Eckington miners. This week I've already got lined up a Macmillan coffee morning and a Wingerworth art exhibition. So I look forward to many other engagements in the community. After this meeting, hopefully we've prepared a small buffet in the breakout area just outside, and I hope some of you will be able to join me for a chat and reminiscences. Thanks very much for that then. Thank you very much. The next item, item 3, is apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair, we've received apologies from Councillor Beach, Councillor Winley, Councillor Durant, Councillor Emmons, Councillor Tate, Councillor Elliott and Councillor Rowe. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next, item 4 is declarations.
Sorry, Chair.
Sorry.
Sorry, Chair. I think there's Councillor Reid as well. Apologies.
Tony Lacey.
Thank you, Chair. I've got apologies from Councillor Beach, Fawcett, Gare, Stone, Durrant and Morley.
Any others? Sorry, thanks for that then. Item 4 is declarations of interest. Members are requested to declare the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interest and or other interests not already on their register of interest in any items on the agenda and withdraw from the meeting at the appropriate time. Are there any declarations of interest? Alex.
Thank you, Chair. I really just seek clarity from the monitoring officer in relation to the motion which asks to write to the County Council. Obviously, as a member of the County Council, I don't believe that's a prejudicial interest that would preclude me from taking part, but if perhaps you could advise.
Yes, yes, I agree. If you declare it as another interest but not significant, you can stay, speak and vote.
Thank you.
Thanks. Caroline Rennie?
Yes, Chair, similar, and added the Cabinet member responsible for electrical vehicle charging infrastructure.
Thanks. Charlotte Cupit?
Thanks, Chair. Same other interest in terms of being a DCC member.
Thank you. Mark Foster?
Same DCC member. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. And Kevin Dillett? Same for you. Thanks for that then. I'll move on to item 5, minutes of the last meetings. Now, the first item is to approve as a correct record and the Chair to sign the minutes of the council meeting held on the 22nd of July. Can we all approve them as a correct record? They've been moved and seconded, have they?
Yeah, I'll move them, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Thanks then. All those in favour? Thank you. And there is a further set of minutes to approve as a correct record and the Chair to sign the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 12th of September.
I'll move those. Second those, Chair.
So they've been moved and seconded. Can we vote them as a correct record?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thanks for that. Next item is item 6, election of the Vice Chair to the Council. Nominations are sought to appoint the Vice Chair of the Council for the remainder of the municipal year.
Can I move Councillor Graham Baxter, please? Seconded, Chair.
So it's been moved that Councillor Graham Baxter be moved as the Vice Chair. Is any other nominations? If not, I'll take that as read on the nod. Thanks for that. Item, would you like to vote on it? You'd like to vote on whether we have Graham Baxter as the Vice Chair? Right. All those in favour, Graham Baxter as the Vice Chair? All those against? Any abstentions? I believe that's passed. So thanks for that. Graham Baxter is the Vice Chair for the rest of the municipal year. Item 7, Leader of the Council's announcements. Over to Nigel.
Thank you, Chair. As most of you are aware, I think it's Alan's last day working for North East Derbyshire. Alan's been the governance manager and for a while here, and he's kept us on track. I think he's making sure all the meetings are in order and organised properly. And I'll say anybody can wear braces like these has got my respect. Well done, Alan. Seriously though, I thought he should be made aware of that so we can wish him well for the future, wherever that might take him. Well done, Alan. We've also got Amy Bryan in attendance. There she is to prove it. Who will be taking over from Alan on the 2nd of October. And she's here to see how we operate and then probably change her mind. So, but I'm sure she'll be made most welcome. It's fair to say things, oh sorry, jumped a bit there. It has been a bit quiet over August, and I hope everyone had a good break and enjoyed whatever holidays you had. I'm sure they've a distant memory now. Mine are. But it's fair to say things have livened up since. Last week I took part, as my desire to work with stakeholders. I met with Julie Richards, along with Lee, the principal of Chesterfield College, and their 2 vice principals. And it was a really productive meeting, wasn't it, Lee? Where we discussed how we could work together to help improve the lives and the chances of those that live and work in our communities. We talked about offering placements here, didn't we, to some of the students, and the importance, I think, of the further education sector in upskilling many in our area. It was really productive, I thought. Just as an update, you might be aware that last week ISG, the main contractor at Claycross Active, went into administration, and as well as affecting this council, it was affected many others across the country. They're a big national concern. While this is not great news, I think I'd reassure council that we're working hard with our development partner, Alliance Leisure, to restart the work as soon as possible and to limit any disruption. It's a very delicate issue, I think, so I don't want to say too much that might jeopardise things, but we are working very hard behind the scenes, Matt, aren't we, to get that up and running again. Secondly, at the last council meeting in July, I promised to meet with all the elected members that were affected by the National Grid proposals to upgrade the national transmission system. I met with those members that were affected, or should I say them that felt it important enough to turn up on the 31st of July. At that meeting, various concerns and objections were raised, and these were fed into the council's final submission, which I've got here somewhere, which is a lengthy document, but I think they've captured a lot of the issues and concerns in that, and I think it closes tomorrow, that consultation. I also met with Councillor Rennick at as the county council responsible for this, to try and ensure we submitted a coordinated response, which again I think were a positive thing. Last but not least, we're in the process of submitting the council response to the MPPF and the changes to it. This response was discussed and approved at Cabinet last Thursday, and this meeting can be viewed on YouTube if you've got that craving and desire, Alex. You know where to go. Like was said at the extraordinary meeting, this was a technical process with over 100 questions to consider. From our perspective, we accept that the possible uplift in housing numbers may cause us some issues, so we've asked the government to have a transition period so that it allows councils to adapt to any new policy. We also believe that the definition of the grey belt needs to be a lot clearer, which again will help councils like ours. What I can state, in no uncertain terms, there's no intention to concrete over all the countryside, like has been stated in certain quarters. But if the government is to keep to its manifesto commitment, more houses will be built. We've got to be honest with that. Also, as I said at the council meeting, Cabinet has asked for reference to be made to the damaging impact of speculative development that would have on what should be a plan-based system. Similarly, I can reassure council that it has been made clear to us that the document does not propose that there were any compulsion for North East Derbyshire to take up any shortfalls that Sheffield may have. We have also been assured that the communities will still have a say on all applications as and when they are brought before committee. And to conclude, we have some really positive news. The regulator of the social housing inspectors recently published the results following their inspection of our housing service, and we were granted a C2 grade, which covered all 4 of the new consumer standards. And the inspector spent 3 days on site. They spoke to me, Lee, Jane, and a lot of time with Lorraine and her team at Ricknold, as well as spending time with tenants, including attending the tenants conference, which all went well. There were lots of positive feedback from them, the inspectors, and some areas we are working towards to get better. The inspectors identified some work still needing collecting physical stock conditions surveys, and Ricknold have produced a plan to deliver this. The grade reflects the dedication of our teams to ensure our tenants live in safe, decent homes and feel heard and supported. Alongside Ricknold, we'll be undertaking the required changes to achieve a reassessment upgrade to get to C1 in the next 18 months. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Nigel, those announcements. I'll move on to the next item, 8, public participation. In accordance with Council Procedure Rule number 8, to allow members of the public to ask questions about the Council's activities. No questions have been submitted under Procedure Rule number 8 for this meeting, so I'll move straight on to item number 9. Item 9 is appointment of Chair of Community Scrutiny Committee. This is an additional item. So I don't know if Nigel Barker wants to say something.
Can I also, while I'm at it, move the Vice Chair as well? So can I move Councillor Michael Durrant as the Chair and Councillor Graham Baxter as the Vice Chair? Thank you.
So it's been moved that Councillor Michael Durrant's been moved as the Chair of Communities and Councillor Graham Baxter as the Vice Chair for the rest of the municipal year. All those in favour? I'll take a show of hands. All those against? Are there any abstentions? I think that's carried, definitely carried. Thanks for that then. The next item is item 10, North East Derbyshire District Council revised people management policies. So I'll give over to Lee to bring this report to us. Lee.
Thank you, Chair. So members have before them a number of revised people management policies, namely dispute resolution and grievance policy, employee code of conduct, disciplinary policy, sickness absence management policy, and information and cyber security policy. So there's a general requirement for us to regularly review such policies. We do this to ensure they remain legally compliant, fit for purpose, and also align with our organisational culture. As with all policies, these provide an operational framework for employees to work within, whilst ensuring a level of consistency when dealing with people-related matters. The people management policies have gone through a process of robust consultation and design with senior officers, employees, and trade unions, including regional representation from Unison, Unite and GMB, and that's set out at 2.3 in the report. The information and cybersecurity policy following a slightly different route, given the policy applies to other councils and organisations that we provide an ICT service to. Therefore, this policy has also come through the Joint ICT Committee route and will also seek approval from those respective organisations to which it will apply. Going forward, we have in place face-to-face and or virtual meetings every quarter now with all the trade unions at North East Derbyshire District Council to specifically consult on any emergency policies during that quarter. It's hoped that this will reduce the risk of backed up policies for consultation and also regularise the consultation process. This move very much aligns with the ambition set out in our recently adopted people strategy, and that is to continue to work closely with our trade union colleagues to further enhance our organisational culture and our operating environment here at North East. And with that, Chair, I'm happy to take any questions and then hand over to the leader.
Okay, do I need it moved? Is it moved by Nigel?
Yeah. Oh, I pressed it twice. Shouldn't have done that.
So
Thanks, Lee. Yeah, can I move the recommendations then in the covering paper to seek agreement from the council that the attached people management policies at Appendix 1 to 5 be approved at the council. So I'll move that. Thank you.
Can I second that, Chair?
that's been moved and seconded. Does anybody wish to speak on it? Alex Dale.
I'm sorry, I think Kevin Hancock was in front of me. I didn't realise he pressed the button.
David first, then David Hancock.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to actually suggest an amendment because I agree with most of these, but the dispute and grievance one and the disciplinary one, I think probably ought to be referenced back because there are issues that I believe, from doing my role anyway, in these. If we go through the grievance one first, page 24, we've got a list of various options. Oh, sorry, I'm missing page 22 out. If we go there first. I think one of the things that we ought to have in here is a time scale as to how far back we will consider a grievance, because we need to actually foster a culture of people coming to us as soon as possible. Page 24, in the list of things that we've actually got for definitions for the purpose, a grievance can be raised against practice as well, so I think there ought to be something in there relating to that. So we ought to have an option of practice rather than it just being harassment, bullying, and various other things. We can have grievances for the way that we operate. Well, it's not there. That's the point. So we're on page 26 of the pack.
I think the pages are different.
Oh, right. Yeah, so if you go into the disciplinary policy, and the page number at the bottom is page 26. Yeah, is the one where I'm at now anyway. Item C says to seek advice from HR team or trade union representative. Well, that's right. Ultimately, we're the employer, so we should be encouraging them to come to us first. Find my next one. That's it on that one. Oh, yeah, actually no, page 28. We've actually said if a grievance is found to be vexatious, malicious, frivolous or trivial. I think it's determining whether something's frivolous or trivial is subjective, and ultimately what a manager may consider to be trivial, the employee raising it probably doesn't. So I think we shouldn't be demeaning what people have. In the disciplinary policy,
Is there many more, David?
there's a few, yeah.
Right.
In the disciplinary policy, page 46, we've got reference to suspension. We've got two issues here. One where relationships have broken down. That's not really grounds for suspension. And also we say the council will inform the regional union office in cases where an employee is a trade union representative and is being suspended from the workplace. Again, that's not really appropriate for us to be doing. It's a potential breach of GDPR there. On the next page, page 47, the appointment of the investigating officer. It's not really prudent that the service manager would be the investigating officer. You would rarely use someone from another service. We've got under section 6, the employee has the right to refuse to attend the investigatory interview, but further on that will be listed as a cause of misconduct. So again, it doesn't really seem as though we're giving mixed messages out. Page 51, in terms of the points of the investigation should be examined and a decision made, we've actually missed out probably the most important, that it's unfounded. We've got allegations have not been proven on the balance of probabilities, which is always a possibility, but the evidence could actually prove that nothing's been done wrong in the first place, so that should be included there. And then the last bits relate to the list of items that we would consider gross misconduct and misconduct. We've actually got 3 items which are listed on both lists, which, yeah, it makes sense that they will be different parts of different levels, but we've got no definition as to how that will be distinguished. If I were a trade union rep, I would pull that apart. Also, in the gross misconduct, we've got serious breach of one or more of the council's policies. And they can't be prescriptive. We should actually have an example so that people know what would constitute gross misconduct versus normal misconduct. So that's my logic as to why those two ought to be referenced back. Just a little bit of tidying up on there.
So you referred all these points back to
No, I think we should reference those two policies back. The others are fine, but those two policies, I think we need to go back and actually say that a little bit more work, tidying up and remove mixed messages.
I'll refer to Lee. Oh yeah, I'll bring Lee Hicken in.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm sorry, Councillor Hancock, I lost. Hang on a minute.
You're not next on, Liz.
This has got on
Alex has to speak for you.
Oh, that's it. Thank you for that. Sorry, Councillor Hancock. I'll try to keep track. I know I think Sarah's captured all of that. We spent 12 months on these policies, and I appreciate everybody might see something slightly different every time they have a look, and I know you yourself's got a lot of experience, but like I said in the paper, this is not just officers, some senior officers at this council for sure, but this is every trade union that's works at this, that as members at this authority, but not just that, their regional representatives from each one of those unions have been party to designing these policies. So I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying it's been a robust process. There's always opportunities to tweak and make better. I would never avoid that. I was speaking to Sarah to try and find a way of taking your points and whether or not this council might delegate me to go back to that group to pick up those points rather than if there's anything more fundamental, because I appreciate valid points, but rather than hold it up, because we need to get this moving and make sure that they're in operation for council and security staff that's working here and the organisation itself. So I'm not sure whether I'm able to make that recommendation for a delegation or whether that's the leader who has to do it, Chair.
I can accept that as part of the amendment. That will forward that would be happy with me. I'll second that as an amendment.
Do you want to come in? I don't.
Shall I take the other people who wish to speak on it? Alex?
Sorry, mine's fairly mundane in comparison to this conversation. It was just a bit of a request in terms of papers when we deal with policy papers like these, because they are standard procedural papers, that whether we could have a track changes version or a significant amendments appendix, just so that members can be really clear, because I mean they are a riveting read. And you know, and together with YouTube watching, it's one of my favourite pastimes. So, but I just think in terms of transparency, you know, clearly David's got a lot more information background on some of these topics, so he's able to pick it apart. But I think for most members, having a clearer idea of what exactly has been changed between this version and the previous version would be very helpful. So if we could have that, thanks, Chair.
Yeah, more than happy to do that, Chair.
Thanks for that. I'm sure they'd be happy to do that. Next on the list, Jane Barry.
Thank you, Chair. I get where David's coming from with some of this, but reading it myself, it's like every other one that I read that's to do with the public sector, whether it's NHS, whether it's local council or not. They're all very, very similar. I think it is an idea to take specifics back. I have to say, David, you went that quick. I couldn't keep up with you, so I lost track part way through, I'm afraid. It would have been good if we'd have had that up front. I might have been able to give a bit more discussion about it. I am aware that it's been in front of the trade unions, quite a few of the trade unions, so I'm surprised that it's gone through without them having pulled something up. I agree totally with Alex about the track changes. I think it's very important when you're doing policies that you do know the difference between the ones that you've had before to what you're doing now. So I would certainly second that moving forward. But I think if Lee, I think we should let this go through and let Lee go back to the group of the people that with David's concerns and then report back to us on what those findings are. Because I think it needs to go back to the people that did it in the first place. I don't think it's up for us to sort of say it here and now. Let it go back to those that did the discussions around the table and then feed back to us.
Thank you, Jane. Next one's David Cheetham.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Yeah, it's just, I can see there's reference to harassment and sexual harassment and the proposed procedure. I wasn't sure whether Lee and others were aware that there's some new legislation coming into effect this October which places a far greater onus on the employer to show that it's demonstrably tried to avoid sexual harassment, and whether that's going to be subject of another policy or whether this is incorporated in this.
Yeah, Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we are aware of that, and we've had a meeting on it just this morning, in fact. So that is going to be a separate piece of work. We're putting in the groundwork for that work now, and it is very much about preventing something occurring in the first place, as opposed to trying to deal with something once it's happened. But just to reassure Councillor, yes, we are aware of it. Thank you.
So, anybody else want to come in on this? Oh, Nigel Barker.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'm trying to see what we're... I think I'm with Jane. I think if we... There is a bit of pressure. I know you wanted to bring Oak... I said, are you bringing Oak off to one meeting? And you said, well, yes, because it's been in the pipeline for a long while, hasn't it, this? So we really don't want to defer it again for another 6 weeks. So taking on board the issue that David's highlighted, if you can get all that information off him and feed it back in, because like all these things, they updated all the time, aren't they? Like the Constitution and different policies. So in the next round, you can feed that back into the system. But I think we need to agree these today, so at least we've got an up-to-date policy adopted. Does that make sense?
Would David be happy for his amendments to be considered by Lee, the director, and for him to make the necessary changes, or do you wish him to report back to us?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm happy for it to be reported back. As I say, there are some potential weaknesses here that do leave uncertainty, so they do need to kind of go back and then be reported back on.
So, and we all agreed with that, it'll be taken back, the points that you made, and hopefully Lee might give us a brief report back another time, probably not going as long as this particular debate. So we're happy with that, are we? Is Council happy with that? I can't see anybody.
Do you want to vote on it, Christine?
Do we want to vote on it? Yeah, we probably better have a vote on it. Do you want to vote with your voting machines, or do you want to show of hands? Show of hands, all those accepting that. Any against? Any abstentions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that. I thought it was going to be uncontroversial, but anyway, you never know, do you? Next is item 11, appointment of independent persons. So I'll hand over to Sarah.
Thank you, Chair. As members are aware, the Council is required to have at least one independent person in relation to complaints against members. This is a requirement of the Localism Act 2011. We have 3, and 2 of these are on fixed-term contracts. All are working well with the small number of complaints we currently have. The proposal is to continue the appointment of all 3 independent persons until May 2027. This will then allow us plenty of time to recruit if that is appropriate in 2026. And the recommendation is before you, Chair.
I think we've all seen the recommendations. Anybody want to comment on it? Kevin Gillett.
I wasn't going to comment, Chair. I was going to propose the recommendations in the report. I think the report speaks for itself.
Thanks for that. Nigel?
Yeah, I'll second that. That's all.
Yeah.
Without names.
Is anybody else that wants to speak on appointment of independent persons? If not, I think we'll go to the vote for that with a show of hands. All those in favour of what Sarah's put forward? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Now move on to item 12 to answer any questions from members asked under procedure rule number 9.2. The following questions have been received. I think we've all had a chance to read the questions, so I'll move on to question A from Councillor Hancock, and I think we'll probably go straight to the answers. Do you wish to speak briefly to it, Councillor Hancock?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, waiting for the lights to come up there. Yeah, just to reiterate the fact, obviously this isn't a criticism of our workforce, and I know there's probably absolutely dozens of reasons why it's there, but it's to raise the fact that there are issues here and to ask what's being done about them. So that's what the question is. So it's probably a short question with a very long answer.
Thank you. I'll pass over to Steve Pickering, Cabinet Member for Environment and Place. Steve.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for your question, Councillor Hancock. Yes, I think you're right. There are, on an ongoing basis, a number of reasons why, but the main reasons why some bins are missed that we find is mainly due to blocked access, due to parked cars. There are breakdowns that we have, and we've got a number of new developments that have caused some delays. The things that are being done with regard to the parked cars, it's where we've got cars double parked and the bin lorry literally physically can't get down the street. I know that in some circumstances the refuse people have been and knocked on doors to try and find out where the cars are to get them moved. And they don't have any luck with that. Mostly they're told that it's not our car. And in those cases where there are particular problems, letters have been sent to residents on the street asking if they can keep the area clear on collection day. But again, we know that not all the cars belong to the residents. You know, there are other people parking on streets as well. So that physically means that the refuse collection vehicles can't get down that street. You know, we've talked to Derbyshire County Council about that. We've got no enforcement powers about it at all. It is a particular issue that's difficult to resolve. But in those cases where bins are missed, if the bins are left presented, then we do try and get back the next day to come and collect them. If it's individual bins, people can ring into the district council, let us know their bin's been missed, or they can do that online, and we'll try and get back and empty the bin. The other one about the repairs, the fleet is slowly being renewed. You might have seen in the last 12 months we've had 10 new bin lorries, not all emptying domestic bins, some are trade waste as well. And there is a rolling programme of replacing vehicles. It does take quite a while, but we have got we've got a capital replacement programme. There's still quite a long lead-in time, and you know, we have got now a good system of repairing those vehicles that are breaking down. They do a tremendous amount of work, you know, and so the older vehicles do break down, and that causes missed bins as well. And where we've got new developments, there's a lot of new build being done, probably more to come as well. But there has been new rounds, extra rounds created to take additional bins in those cases. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that reply. I'll move on to question B.
There might be a supplementary.
Sorry. Have you got any supplementary to that, David?
Yes, please, Chair. Just a query, because I know it's something that's being considered. Does the member think that actually relocating the depot to a more central part in the district will ease some of the pressures? Because obviously it's a big trek from Eckington down to, say, Ashover. So it's his thoughts on that.
Steve Pickering.
Thank you, David. Yes, I mean, well, we do have to have new arrangements for a depot in the district as time goes on, and obviously things are being prepared for that now. Hopefully it will make an improved service. That's what we're looking at, and you know, something that's a bit future-proof. What the depot won't do is stop people parking cars, you know, so it won't address those kind of issues that cause the problem. And the new depot won't give us a brand new fleet of everything. We'll still have to have a rolling programme of replacing those bins. But just to put the missed bins into a bit of context, and I hope this weren't a bit of grandstanding, David, because you could have spoken to me outside the meeting about all this rather than raise it at a full council. But this year, up to August, from January to August this year, we expected to have emptied about 4 million bins altogether. And in that time, the number of missed bins is 4,000. So it's 0.1%. So 99.9% of all bins have been collected on time and when they should have been. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Briefly, David.
Yeah, I find that comment quite insulting, actually, about grandstanding. The reason it's been brought is because week in, week out, we're finding the same streets are being missed. And that's happening all across the district, which is why the questions come here. So it's not grandstanding. This is the single service we deliver to every household every week, and it's failing. And that's why we were asking the question.
Well, I'm sure if these things were reported to the right department, that they could look at particular streets. Thanks for that. I'm going to move on to question B from Richard Welton.
Yep. Does it work? It does, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. This is something that we keep raising from time to time. The reason why we keep bringing it forward is it's important, we think. It's a lot of post-bag, a lot of fears about excessive development that may occur, and that's why we keep bringing this back. There's a lot of expertise and knowledge within the Conservative group, also within the Liberal Democrat group as well, and we think that could be better. We could be better utilised by this council. And it's just another request. This is a very easy decision that you could make to be more inclusive. So again, we'd ask you to reconsider your position on this. Thank you.
Thanks. Nigel Barker.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Richard, for the question. And to be honest, I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to agree with you. I think after the election, and we've got obviously this new MPPF proposals going through, and I think it's a good time to actually to review that steering group. We've already had similar conversations with colleagues, even before your question was submitted. I've also listened to groups' comments about the membership of that steering group. It does keep coming back, as you say. We did what we did for the best of reasons. We tried to be inclusive and came up with a formula that did include other parties. But you make a fair point, I think, that it's not for the majority group to sort of nominate who the opposition group members are on that. So I'll concede that point. And consequently, in answer to your question, that we will look at the membership and the composition of that group. So yes, that's in the pipeline. But I will make a point that this steering group is re-established as soon as possible, so that it can get on with its work, because that's a worry that David's expressed to me, that we don't want any delay because of all the changes. And it is a serious issue. And the steering group can only work if its members work constructively and make decisions on behalf of the residents across the whole district. So I think there's an expectation that we'd work to a code of conduct during the deliberations and sign up to hopefully sign up to a statement of common ground to ensure members of the group are committed to making decisions in that best interest within the context of a national policy, because that's the idea of the steering group. You listen to officers, they come with all the pressures from central government, and we have to take cognizance of that. So I believe that people should sign up to that if they're on that group, and it's my intention to talk to members, group leaders and Frank about this in the next few weeks, how we can and look at proportionality and how we can constitute that group. So the answer is yes, we will look at that.
That's long-winded, yes. Thanks for that. Do you want to come back, Richard?
Just to thank Councillor Barker for the reconsideration and for his comments. Thank you.
Thank you then. Next item, question C from Alex Dale. Do you wish to speak to it, Alex?
I shan't read the essay length question, no, just, I mean, the summary is clearly, whatever you think of the last government, there was a focus on levelling up and regeneration, and we had seen that visibly in several different areas in North East Derbyshire. I personally have a concern around the scrapping of the Barrow Hill line. There's other bits and bobs that we're hearing about that may be in the firing line, and in particular was delighted to see 20 million Dromfield over the next 10 years, and we'll ask the council to champion North East Derbyshire and request that is honoured.
Thanks, Nigel Barker.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Yeah, and I think, just to be clear, I think you're asking me in that question about whether I'll write to the Chancellor of Exchequer and have 2 MPs. Just to make it clear, we have got 2 MPs for North East Derbyshire, but the answer to that bit is no. That's it. I won't be writing to anybody.
Did anybody else want to speak? Did Susie Cornwall want to speak? Do you wish to come back, Alex?
I mean, that's disappointing. And also, the last time I checked, we only had 1 local MP for Dromfield, which the question relates to. So, but I would just query why. I mean, that's disappointing. Does he feel that that only some areas of the district deserve regeneration funding and others don't? Last time we'd asked about this, you were still going to propose regeneration for Eckington, so why not Dromfield?
Nigel?
Thank you. I'm pleased you come back with a supplementary, because I've got a long list now. But we agree that, you know, the investment in the regeneration of the towns and villages and key sites and local infrastructure remains a key priority. We're not denying that. That's why our administration and council officers are working to a plan for our communities to harness new funding and allocate the funding we already have direct control over to maximise the impact of the district. And we recognise that the government is currently taking stock of the resources it has. We also appreciate that a little time is required to ensure the best possible mechanisms are put in place for administering the regeneration funds, whether at a national or a district level, or through the new mayoral combined authority for Derbyshire and Nottingham. In the meantime, we continue to engage with our colleagues on alternative longer-term approaches to realise the Barrow Hill line and other regeneration projects in the district. We agree that the £20 million for Dromfield would have been a great windfall, but we recognise the new government needs to be clear on the big picture and explain opportunities which can benefit all of our district, rather than in this case focus on a speculative announcement made, I'd say in desperation, a month before the general election. Just on that, I've asked our officers here and if they'd had any correspondence or knowledge about that 20 million. And if you've got some, perhaps you could drop me an email telling me where that funding was coming from and when that promise was made by the government. Like I've said, it just does feel like another unfunded pledge to win votes. Rather than lobbying from afar, we have met with our new MPs and combined authority mayor to discuss the new key regeneration priorities we would like to see progressed in North East Derbyshire. We also play an active role within the industrial communities Alliance, which I've got here, which again we've been through a couple of meetings, Lee, that we now attend, which is that's really cross-party local authority association, which does campaign for economic development and regeneration on behalf of councils across Britain. It focuses on ex-coalfields and ex-industrial areas like ours, and they have got a really strong voice in central government. They've got like the ears of ministers and everything. And I think you cut that funding when you're in control, which I think were a negative thing. I think you'd also want to reflect on the decision at county to pull funding for the SLB, just because the leader wasn't chairing it, which don't bode well for collaborative working. So instead of jumping on in with a standalone letter to government, we are taking a more cooperative approach with other authorities to make our views known, while engaging with regional leaders and our parliamentary representatives to ensure they understand our priorities in a much greater detail. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move on to item 13, to consider any motions from members under procedure rule number 10. And the following motion has been received from Frank Adlington Stringer, and I'll ask Frank if he wishes to speak to it. Frank.
Thank you, Chair. I was pleased to see over the summer North East Derbyshire in the headlines, but it wasn't for the right reasons. We were in the Guardian newspaper for having the worst amount of electrical vehicle charging points in the whole country. We failed to meet our target set by government, and we're not on track to get there. Fortunately, the County Council has some funding to do this. The new mayor has set out their ambitions to set out more electric vehicle charging points across the country. And so this is us taking an opportunity to stand up for our district, make sure we're ahead of the queue, and that we are making sure that we have that coverage. Here in North East Derbyshire, we're a rural district with inadequate public transport cover, and to be able to have the transition we need to decarbonise in the way we need, residents are going to rely on electric vehicles in part. Whilst we need to lobby for more public transport, better buses, we also need to make sure that these are in place, and so I'm asking the council to expand what it's currently doing to make sure that we can get charging points in as many of our facilities as possible. To that end, there is a slight change that I'm going to make to the motion as it is, with council's permission, just on point 1 under council resolves, changing to swiftly investigate, to expedite and expand its investigation into, and then finishing the sentence with, and other appropriate assets, if council's happy to continue with that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks. So could you just reiterate that bit to expedite, was it, on the council resolves under item 1?
Council resolves to expedite and expand its investigation into the feasibility of installing EV charging points at all 17 of its car parks across Claycross, Dromfield, Eckington and Killamarsh, and other appropriate assets.
Thank you for that. Who wishes to speak on, who's seconding it?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thanks for that. Does anybody wish to speak on it?
Council's got to accept the amendment just by acclamation sort of thing.
Oh, right. We've got to decide whether we accept the amendment as a council.
I don't know this one.
Well, how embarrassing. Does council accept the amendment? Can we have a show of hands that we accept the amendment that Frank's put in? Yep. I think that's passed. Nigel?
No.
No? I'm thrown, yeah. All those against the amendment? I don't see anybody against.
I'm not sure what we...
Well, not, you can't really, no. No.
Read out again.
You wish the amendment to be read out again?
Yeah.
Right, more slowly, yeah? Sorry, Frank, can we have it read out again more slowly?
I don't know what you said. Expedite, I go as far as that.
Thanks, Lee.
Sorry, Frank, carry on.
Council resolves to expedite and expand its investigation into the feasibility of installing EV charging points at all 17 of its car parks across Claycross, Drumfield, Eckington and Killamarsh and other appropriate assets.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Have we all got that? He's read it out 3 times. Hopefully, we've got it. I'll take a vote then on the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment? My hand. Thanks for that. Any against? 1 against, and any abstentions? 3, 4 abstentions. So it's carried that. So we'll go on to discuss the motion with that amendment. Nigel Barker may wish to speak.
No, it's the second.
Yeah. Oh, am I on?
Councillor Cooper seconded it, so he has
Yes.
to speak.
Is it on?
Does Councillor Cooper wish to speak?
Second.
Oh, yeah. Go Andrew first, yeah.
I'm going to move on back to Nigel.
Yeah, thank you.
Made a bit of
Yeah, I still don't know what difference that makes, that amendment, putting him on. We'll go for it. I welcome this opportunity to debate it, Frank, I really do, and it is an important issue, and I think our group's fully behind what its intention is. But I've got to say, I'm disappointed in it, Frank, that you've chose to bring here a green issue again to council, because we consciously put you as vice chair of that environment committee, and against what had gone previously, because we thought you'd have some expertise in the Greens agenda, and we really want to progress that. I'm a bit disappointed you brought it here. So once again, rather than take advantage of that opportunity, or do some of the hard work and talk to officers and take advice, and then I think you should have drafted that in a different way. And I've got to say, I've got a bit of a cynical side, that it's just something you can put on your social media along with Ross and Charlotte. I think you've got a competition who can put most on social media, but if that's what you want to do. But at risk of taking that approach, as both Conservatives have found out when we brought these like grandstanding motions, it can backfire, and I think it can come back to bite you. And I think this is the second time you've taken this approach, and I do wonder whether you want to take your role seriously as the vice chair of that committee. But I'll just crack on to the thing. I'll have to start by telling you that this council already in the process of preparing a policy. Officers have been working with their counterparts at the county council and other districts and boroughs to agree a county-wide approach. If you'd asked, we'd have told you that. We have recently conducted a feasibility study of all the 17 car parks and identified 6 in North East Derbyshire as being suitable for these EV charging points. So the first part of your resolution to ask officers to do what they've already done. As far as writing to the Mayor, that shows a misunderstanding of the current role of the Mayor. Seems how you stood to be a Mayor not long ago, Frank. I thought you might have understood that. But the office of the Mayor, over time, play a greater role in this area, but at the moment, it's the County Council as the lead agency, not the Mayor, and so asking for funding wouldn't be appropriate. As your motion state, the funding stream has gone to County Council. Finally, because we have been in partnership with the County Council in developing the Levi strategy, we have already been in discussions with them about funding. So again, you're asking officers to do what they have already done. So your motion is asking council to do what it's already just done, to write to someone who doesn't have a role in this issue, and to talk to a partner authority about an issue that we're already talking to them about. As I have said on several occasions, that this council needs to follow principles of good governance, which are contained in our constitution. That means taking account of the facts and understanding the consequences of any action before taking it. The simplest thing to do is to vote against this motion because it's unnecessary. It's asking officers to spend time doing something they've already done, and this council would look foolish in the eyes of partners if it wrote to those letters. However, I take the intent behind the motion very seriously, and so I'm opposing an alternative course that the Constitution says that any motion proposing to change policy should first be considered by Cabinet or scrutiny before being debated, and I propose that we do that with this motion. This way, those members of the council who sit on that committee and who are serious about this issue can be told of the policy and have a chance to make a constructive, informed contribution to that strategy rather than just grandstanding. So if you're prepared to do that, to move this, the sentiments of this, I'd suggest that we again amend this and say that we'd like to suggest that we amend the motion along the matter referred to the appropriate scrutiny committee rather than have a vote on it now.
Well, I've got other speakers who've indicated they want to come in, so I'll go through them. Alex Dale first.
Thanks, Chair. I don't really agree that it's grandstanding. I think that's just democracy, isn't it? It's perfectly entitled for opposite groups to put forward motions on ideas and to put them on social media if they so wish. I think that's just part of our democracy, and long may it continue. And obviously your group did the same while you were in opposition, and rightly so. I think in terms of the motion itself, our group, we broadly support the resolutions. I think there's nothing in there that's too controversial, and I think on point 2, we might be a little bit hopeful in terms of getting a response from the East Midlands Mayor, because every time we've written to her from a county perspective, she doesn't seem to respond that often, if at all. But yeah, nothing, certainly not worth not trying at least. I think the broader point I'd probably make is that whenever I've looked into it, charging points within car parks don't tend to be that well utilised, and obviously the future, and probably Carolyn will come on to this, tends to be that investment in on-street charging is sort of where it's at. Well, that's where we want to be putting more of the resource. And anecdotally, the 2 spaces we've got in the Civic Centre car park in Dromfield are not that well used whenever I see them. So that broadly, I'd probably sort of make that point, but there's nothing wrong with trying to install more EV charging points in our car parks, and that's where we do stand a chance of making a difference as a district council, because we have those car parks. And then I think the only other thing just to highlight is that I think our group would probably slightly disagree with the note section at point 4. I wouldn't disagree necessarily that as a rural district, provision of bus routes is a challenge for us, but there is a lot of investment through BSIP and through various other measures. Active travel infrastructure in my ward, we've got a shared use cycle lane in the midst of being installed, connecting Dromfield through to Unston down to Peak Resort. So it is happening. It maybe needs to be, more investment there, but there is some investment. So we'd probably slightly disagree on that final point. But in terms of the motion itself, we're not voting on the notes per se. We're voting on the resolution, really. So I think our group is broadly happy to support the resolution. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks. Next one, Caroline Rennick.
Thank you, Chair. And I know Councillor Barker's already resolved that part 1 and 2 and 3 probably should be negated, but I was also going to say that I could save the trouble of the council writing to the Derbyshire County Council, just to note that 17.6 million of the LEVI, the Local Electrical Vehicle Infrastructure Grant Fund, Derbyshire County Council was awarded 6.6 million, and the funding stipulates that electrical vehicle charging points must be carried out in residential areas where there is little or no off-street parking. There are three schemes that have been in the middle of tender at the moment through Derbyshire County Council. One is the on-street charging in residential areas utilising the Derbyshire County Council's street lighting columns. Tender's looking to appoint a charge point operator to install and run 2,500 of these types, and the installation is projected to begin in the early new year. The second is the on-street residential via free standing charge points. This is actually in conjunction with Midlands Connect across 4 unity authorities, taking a little bit more time than we'd hoped, but this scheme is due to start in spring 25 next year. And thirdly, there's a rapid charges in districts and boroughs council-owned car parks. This is fully funded by the charge point operator, and there are about 40 sites being assessed for suitability here, although I haven't got, and that would be spring 2025, but I'm not sure how many of these this district council has applied for. So there are a number of number of schemes available, and these will no doubt accelerate in future years. But I do know that we looked at vehicle charging point as a council for the car parks, did quite a lot of work probably 3-4 years ago. I know some weren't suitable, and I hope that's because of, I think, access to electricity points, and I hope that works continue by this council to ensure that we can get better supply in our car parks. And just finally, to Councillor Barker, usually quite convivial in your meetings, but the comments to Councillor Hancock and also to Councillor Stringer and references to other colleagues of mine doesn't do any favours. I think I am quite disappointed that you know, we're starting to feel like we ought to bring up debates, and you know, this council probably is a bit about grandstanding, and I hope that no one feels that they can't bring up debates like this, and it doesn't do you any favours to take that approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Susie Cornwall.
Sorry. Yes, I do hope that the amendment goes through. I was very disappointed that the motion as it stands at the moment only mentions Claycross, Dronfield, Eckington and Killinmarsh, although I appreciate that Councillor Adlington Stringer did change it at the last minute to include all areas in our district. I represent Homewood. It's right by junction 29 of the M1. Wouldn't that be a suitable place for some electric vehicle charging points? We have car parks just by our shops. It makes a lot of sense. So if this does go back to scrutiny, and we do make recommendations to Derbyshire County Council, or that they're listening, or we can push this 17.6 million grant, can they consider junction 20 Homewood, because it is at the junction of a motorway where some vehicles may need that support just before they go on the motorway.
Thank you. Yeah, Kevin Gillett.
Chair, I'd like to thank Councillor Rennick for her contribution, because I think it helps actually as to why this matter needs to go to scrutiny first of all. It's much more complicated than the motion itself suggests, and therefore I think Councillor Barker has proposed that amendment that rather than vote on the motion as currently worded, that we refer it to scrutiny first, and I'd like to second that.
So, anybody else want to speak? If not, I'll come back to Frank and put it to him that has somebody press the button. Right. Ross, you come in now.
Yeah, I think Councillor Adlington Stringer should be encouraged to bring debates to this council, as should every other member of this council that comes and sits here. We shouldn't have this closed shop of where we shouldn't ever be debating anything here, and it all has to go through a committee, and we're told we're grandstanding if we raise a point that's important to residents in the areas that we represent. That's not what we should be doing, and as Councillor Rennick says, I think it's disappointing to Councillor Barker to keep recycling that same thing whenever a councillor brings something up in this chamber. These are important points to all of our residents that we are representing. On the wider point of the motion, I agree. We definitely need more electric vehicle charging points. We're being hauled over at coals in national newspapers because we ain't got enough. That should tell you that we need to start doing some action soon, and not just kicking the can down the road into a committee of this council. It does, however, sound like staff are progressing that already, in which case that's a good thing. But there's no harm in other councillors trying to raise it and cause a debate in this chamber to try and speed that process up so that our residents do have electric vehicle charging points. Just to pick up on a point that Councillor Dale said about the types of charging points we need, I don't know if you can cast your mind back to when we put a motion forward regarding off-street parking and making that provision a lot more environmentally friendly, that we were told by certain councillors that
we shouldn't be encouraging more cars on the road when actually those are the charging points we need, which are at home and at roadside charging points, which will boost the amount of electrical vehicles that we have on the road, because they are the cheapest way to charge and the more the better, and kind of it fits into people's lifestyles a lot better. So yeah, I do agree with the motion. Perhaps not necessarily right to some of the people that either don't have any oversight over these issues or we're already speaking to, but broadly I do agree that we definitely need more electrical vehicle charging points.
Thanks for that. I've got nobody else look as if they're lining up. So put it to Frank that we broadly agree. Nigel Bark says the council broadly agree with the sentiments in this. And would you wish to refer it back to the appropriate scrutiny committee?
No, on this occasion I won't, and I reject that. And I'd like to thank all the members, unsurprisingly of the opposition, have stood in sort of defence of me bringing this to council. I do think that it is our right as councillors to do this. I do think it is healthy, and I do think in this instance it is the right way for us to send a positive message. I think that perhaps the Labour Party see this as an attack, something from the sidelines, throwing something across to try and dirty your name. It's not that at all. It's me recognising that this council is failing on its green objectives. It's been picked up nationally, and this is the earliest opportunity for us to make a difference on that, to send a message to the county council that does have funding to better service our area, to the mayoral, to the new East Midlands mayor, who...
Sorry, could we have just one meeting, because I can hear people muttering in the background. Carry on, Frank.
A little bit of respect would be appreciated today. We have the East Midlands mayor who's referenced in this motion. It never mentions funding but support, because the mayoral candidate never did outline exactly what that would look like. And so we're going to go back, hopefully, to the new mayor and ask what is available and what was meant through the rollout of more charging points for electric vehicles. And again, ask that that's prioritised here. Just to pick up on a few of the points, Councillor Cornwell, I agree with you. We should be doing this across the entirety of the district, wherever possible, wherever appropriate. That's part of the reason why I made the amendment. That was following conversations with officers, I'd like to add. But the car parks mentioned are North East Derbyshire District Council car parks. They're car parks we can have immediate control over and make it an impact onto as quickly as possible. It's not aimed at being exclusionary. The point by Councillor Shipman, I thank you for your support of this motion. The reason why I think that it's important that we have publicly shared charging points rather than those at home is because the transition to a green economy relies on us looking at things differently. Everyone going out there, replacing their car with a new electric car is, again, a drain on resource. It's an impact on our supply chain, and that isn't the transition we need. We need more people using public transport. We have to try and encourage that, try and lobby for that here, and make sure that people are sharing cars, sharing resources, rather than rebuilding the entire world again, which again is going to have a huge impact. So we have to make sure that they're accessible ports for everyone, not just installing more things at home. That's the spirit of the motion, is to be positive, is to try and send a positive message upstairs and to do that positively. The Environmental Scrutiny Committee is a great way of us raising motions, and I'm very, very proud to be on that committee, the first time this council ever had such a committee, and I hope that I can continue to represent green voices, but also the voices of everyone in that committee. But I think it is important that council listens to opposition voices and that things are brought to council, and so I do reject your amendment and hope that we can get this passed today and show that we will listen to each other, we'll have conversations, and if this council is doing some of that work, then it wants to take on the ambitious challenge of doing that well and doing it together and feeling united in that. This isn't an attempt to undermine anyone. This is us to send a message to the councils, to our partners, that we can do better together. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that. So the motion's been moved and amended by Frank, and he's read it out 3 times. I'm not going to ask him to repeat it. So I'm going to ask for a vote. Can we have a vote on the electronic system?
Are we voting on Nigel's amendment? Or?
No, I think Frank did say that he did not accept.
Nigel proposed it was seconded, I think.
It's up for the committee to decide.
I'm sorry. Do you all want to vote on the amendment that Nigel put? So I thought that Frank could accept it or not, but I stand corrected. So I'm going to go for a show of hands for the amendment that Nigel put, which was to agree with the sentiments, but to
I think it would be better electronically.
but to refer it back to the appropriate scrutiny committee. I'm asking you to vote on this electronically. So can we do that now? On the amendment that Nigel had put. So I think if we've all voted, I'd have to add that up, looks like it, then the amendment that Nigel has put has been carried by a small margin. If the amendment that Nigel had put, that it's referred back to the appropriate scrutiny committee, the Environment Committee, I'm going to then ask the council to vote on this as a substantive motion. So I'm going to ask you to vote again. I don't know how we scrub this, the electronic system clear. Oh, there we are. It's clear again. So I wish you all to vote on the substantive motion that takes in Nigel Barker's amendment. So I think we've all voted. And it looks like that amended motion has been passed by 31. And I thank you for that. I think that's most of the items on the agenda, thankfully. And the last one is the Chair's urgent business, of which I believe I've no urgent business, except to say that it is Alan's last day, and I hope that some of you will stay behind and maybe have a bit of a snack with me in the outer room, and we could perhaps say cheerio to Alan and wish him all the best. Thank you. Thanks. That's the end of the meeting.